Welcome to the Unseen Threat. The rise of money laundering through art and antiquities. Money laundering is a growing concern for the global financial system. With the rise of digital currencies and the ease of cross-border transactions, it's becoming easier for criminals to move money undetected. But one of the most overlooked forms of money laundering is through the art and antiquities market. It's a perfect place to hide illicit funds because it's a largely unregulated market with few safeguards against fraud and corruption. But before diving deep into our video, just make sure to subscribe to our channel so you will be updated with the new videos. Art and antiquities have long been favorite tools for money launderers. In fact, a United Nations report estimated that money laundering through the art market could be worth as much as $30 billion per year. Let's take a look at some real-life examples of how money laundering through art and antiquities works. Law enforcement official. In 2018, a major investigation uncovered a money laundering scheme involving a renowned British art dealer. The dealer was found to have sold multiple high-value artworks to shell companies controlled by Russian oligarchs. The profits from these sales were then funneled back to Russia, where they were used to buy more art and launder even more money. The dealer, whose name was not disclosed in the investigation, had been operating this scheme for several years and had laundered millions of dollars in illicit funds. In another case, a wealthy collector in the Middle East was caught using the art market to launder money. He bought several high-value antiquities and then used them as collateral for loans from international banks. The loans were then used to purchase more art and launder even more money. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There are countless other examples of money laundering through the art and antiquities market, and it's becoming an increasingly popular way for criminals to hide their money. The rise of money laundering through art and antiquities is not just a problem for the financial system, it also has a real impact on society. The profits from these illicit transactions often fuel organized crime, terrorism, and other forms of criminal activity. There are several gaps in the processes for preventing money laundering through art and antiquities. Lack of regulation. One of the biggest gaps in the system is the lack of regulation in the art and antiquities market. This makes it easier for criminals to use the market to launder money without being detected. Lack of transparency. The art and antiquities market is often opaque, with limited information available about the provenance and ownership of individual pieces. This lack of transparency makes it difficult to track the flow of money and identify suspicious transactions. Complex transactions. Art and antiquities transactions can be complex and involve multiple parties, making it difficult to trace the origin of funds and detect money laundering. Limited reporting requirements. Unlike the financial sector, the art and antiquities market has few reporting requirements. This means that many transactions are not subject to the same level of scrutiny as financial transactions, making it easier for criminals to launder money. Lack of cooperation. Another gap in the system is the lack of cooperation between different countries and agencies in tracking and preventing money laundering through art and antiquities. Inadequate training. Another gap is the inadequate training and education of law enforcement and financial institutions in detecting and preventing money laundering through the art and antiquities market. These gaps in the processes make it easier for criminals to use the art and antiquities market to launder money and make it more difficult for law enforcement and financial institutions to detect and prevent these activities. Addressing these gaps will require cooperation between different countries and agencies, as well as increased regulation, transparency, and education in the art and antiquities market. Here are some creative methods to avoid the gaps in the processes for preventing money laundering through art and antiquities. Increased regulation. One way to address the lack of regulation in the art and antiquities market is to implement new laws and regulations that require more transparency and accountability in the industry. This could include reporting requirements for all transactions and the creation of a centralized database of ownership information. Enhanced transparency. Another way to address the lack of transparency in the art and antiquities market is to promote greater transparency in transactions. This could include requiring more detailed information about the provenance and ownership history of individual pieces, as well as improving access to this information for law enforcement and financial institutions. Improved tracking. Another way to address complex transactions and limited reporting requirements in the art and antiquities market is to improve the tracking of transactions. This could include implementing systems to electronically track transactions, as well as improving the sharing of information between law enforcement and financial institutions. Enhanced cooperation. To address the lack of cooperation between different countries and agencies and preventing money laundering through art and antiquities, international agreements could be established to promote cooperation and information sharing. This could include creating a centralized database of suspicious transactions and sharing information between countries and agencies. Improved training. To address the inadequate training of law enforcement and financial institutions in detecting and preventing money laundering through the art and antiquities market, specialized training programs could be developed. This could include training on the identification of suspicious transactions, as well as training on the use of advanced technologies for tracking and monitoring the market. By implementing these creative methods, the gaps in the processes for preventing money laundering through art and antiquities can be reduced, making it more difficult for criminals to use the market for illicit activities and easier for law enforcement and financial institutions to detect and prevent these activities. In conclusion, the rise of money laundering through art and antiquities is a significant concern that requires immediate attention. By addressing the gaps in the current processes, we can make it more difficult for criminals to use the market for illicit activities and protect the integrity of this important industry. Let's work together to promote greater transparency, accountability, and cooperation in the fight against money laundering in the art and antiquities market. Thank you for joining me for today's discussion on the unseen threat, the rise of money laundering through art and antiquities. I hope you found this video informative and engaging. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date with the latest financial news and analysis. Keep learning and stay competitive with us.